Cool. Thank you. All right, so we are recording. Amazing. So this is hopefully going to feature on TV one day, but until then, we will settle for YouTube. So as soon as this is done, in the next 30 minutes, it will be up on YouTube as well. So welcome to everyone once again. This is the SRC and SRC Manager interview. We have 3 panelists with us, but we are just waiting on Sifiso to join us, and he'll let us know once he's in. So in the meantime, I'm going to ask our 2 lovely panelists to introduce themselves and just say what their responsibility, what their portfolio on the SRC is. Lewis, let's start with you.
Okay, hi guys. I'm Luis and I'm the SRC chairperson. Pardon me, I'm a little bit tired. I'm just coming out of another meeting with Wama. But part of my responsibility to make sure that the SRC fulfills its mandate. Not just to ensure that the SRC does its job, but it goes on to represent students in different meetings and when we are engaging with management, when we are engaging with other institutions, and when we are engaging with all other stakeholders of the university, there should always be a student voice. And part of you being an SRC chair means that you have to be in those meetings so that all the voices of students can be elevated. And the other responsibility is to make sure that the finances of the SRC are handled properly or are managed properly. So that's part of my job, but I'm going to explain the other things along the way. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you, Lewis. That was very comprehensive. Very nice. Great way to put it into perspective. Thank you for that. Christina, on to you.
Hi everyone, my name is Christina Brazier. I am the safety manager for the SRC. So my job is to help the SRC wherever I can. And as safety manager, mainly deal with safety issues such as is campus safe, is campus security in action, if there's any concerns that the students may have with regards to their safety, try and ensure and help we can and be in constant communication with risk management and campus security.
Thank you. Thank you to our safety officer. Yeah, you've been really busy. You've had your hands full recently. Thank you for coming through. Thank you again. That was a very comprehensive and nicely put way to describe what your responsibility is. I myself am the vice chairperson of the SRC, but today I'm the host of this interview. But the role of the vice chairperson is more internally. So honestly, you can make that as broad or as narrow as you would like, but more internally in terms of the team. So discipline and team dynamics and just making sure your team is well. On top of, anything else really you would like to pursue in your vision, but that is the primary mandate of the vice chairperson. All right, and then Sifiso, when he does join us, he is our policy officer. So, he is the one that reads through various policies and, has more of a legal view on documentations and concepts. And he also has the portfolio of leadership and leadership development, which you can adapt depending on your vision for the portfolio. But obviously the mandate is revolving around leadership in the context of youth and young adults. Yeah, all right. So that being said, I'm going to jump into the very first question, which I think is pretty relevant considering the fact that I think we got an email today or yesterday from the election conveners about SRC elections coming up and the application forms and everything. And what's perfect now is that we have an SRC member, an elected SRC member, and we also have an SRC manager. So the answers are going to be different, which is great. It's going to give good perspective. My question is, how did you apply for the role that you are in? So Lewis, maybe talk us through how you applied for SRC in general, and then how the process was for chair and for chairperson. And then Christina, you can talk us through the process of applying to be a manager. Here we're just looking for the procedural aspect of it. So like not the thoughts and prayers that went into it, although those are really relevant, and the kind words, but more, what forms did you have to fill in? You know, did you have to email the president? Like what does a student have to do to be in the positions that you are in, that we are in today? So Christina, I'll start with you because I'm a fan of the managers. You're on mute. I love it. Love when people are on mute.
Sorry. So applying to be a manager, it's really not a stressful process at all. So I thought this year I just wanted to do something new, and I've always wanted to help where I can. So I received an email from the SRC on my normal Sun email, and it just said that the SRC is looking for a few managers for certain positions, and I thought, let me give this a try. It's a very basic process. You fill out a form, you give a brief motivation as to why you would want to apply, what would you like to bring to the portfolio, and you send through your CV as well, and then you email it through to the vice chair, and then you await for a feedback whether you've made it to the interview stages. So I found the process very easy and simple.
Thank you. Yeah, and just emphasizing that the manager's application comes out after the SRC has been elected. So if anyone is really keen to be a manager, don't think you've missed the email for applying for managers. It will come once the SRC is elected. Awesome. Thank you, Christina. Lewis, just break it down for us for SRC and then for chairperson.
Okay, I just switched on my camera now.
Yay!
Okay, so for chairperson, initially it's just like the normal SRC election. You know how everybody received the course to apply for the SRC right now. So what I did was last year, luckily we were all still on campus. So I went to the SRC offices and I picked up the application form after I saw the email. So after I picked up the application form, you know, when you get in there, they're like other SRC members, the outgoing SRC will be there, and then they're like, do you want to run and whatever? And I felt kind of intimidated. But then after that, I took the application form home, if I remember very well, because I think the deadline was when we came back for the second semester, if my memory serves me well. I think I took it home. So I was thinking throughout the whole time that, oh, okay, you said we're not going to mention all the prayers and everything. So I'm not going to mention that. And after that, I always submit things on the last minute. So I think on the last day of the applications, that's when I submitted my application form. So after I submitted my application form, I had to wait for some days for the election conveners. They'll be going through the applications, going through your results. You don't have to send them your results. So the system has a way of calculating YEMIS, but it's something that I always tell people who switched courses along the way. If you ever switched a course during your time at Stellenbosch University, when that thing calculates your HEMIS, it won't give you sufficient HEMIS to run for SRC, regardless of what you did, because you were doing this course and then all of a sudden you jumped into this course. So that's the situation that I found myself in. And I received a letter to say that, hey, unfortunately, you can't run because you don't have HEMIS. So, and then I was shocked because, no, I actually did well. So if you receive such an email, I always encourage people, always check with the election conveners so that they can check the results physically. So they told me that the only way that we can go through this is if you appeal. So I appealed. And so if you appeal, they will have the current SRC chairperson, the dean of the faculty, or the representative of the dean, and one of your lecturers. They'll just pick any lecturer who understands how your courses work. And it was a unanimous decision to kind of say, it was because of the system. And then I was relieved because I thought my dreams were broken at that particular time. And it worked out well in the end. And then after that, we invited to take photos for the election posters, the election posters. And then after that, everything starts feeling real, like, already now we're getting into the election. You start getting scared. And at that particular time, some people already know which positions they really want to go for. And some people are not quite sure about the positions that they want to run for, which is okay. And don't ever feel like you should run while it's knowing that this is what I want to do. At times you look at the team and then you realize that you would fit better as this person, and you have some other people who know that if I run for this particular position, I'll be the best candidate there is in terms of like being on that position. And I wasn't that person. I was always asking myself, where should I stand? What should I do? And then after that, we went through the election process. Students voted, and after the voting process, the election results were out. They were announced in the library auditorium. And after that, so with our term, we had our own complications. So we couldn't have the chair elections immediately after our election. So we had to wait for a very long time. And how the chair election works is the first election that happens, the chair election and then the vice election, they happen on the same day. So that meeting will be the first official SRC meeting of your term if you are elected, of the whole team, the election of the chairperson. And then after the chairperson is elected, then you will host the election of the vice chair and everyone else who will take a position in the SRC. So I think it was in January. Was it in January, Wama?
It was probably even.
Yeah, I think
just whenever you're thinking of a month, just add one.
First week of Feb. Yeah, you're right. So that's when we had the election. So how it works is, remember on the initial elections, you should be voted in by students. But after those initial elections, is the SRC, like the people who you were elected with, they are the ones who will vote for you to get that particular position. So any position in the SRC executive is voted in by the current SRC members, which is what happened to us. So the whole thing, I think, I wasn't there when they wrote the constitution, but I think it's all about trusting each other with that position. I think that's the reason why they had to put it that way, so that if you have to elect a chairperson or like a vice chairperson, you as the SRC are responsible for putting that person in that position because you trust that they will do a good job in that position. I hope I didn't say too much, so I'll pause here. Did I answer all your questions?
Definitely for me. Yeah. You clarified it very nicely, and I like that you kind of went into the realness behind everything. It's not just taking a form and then walking away and then you're fine. No, You take that form and you run into some old SRC members and you're like, am I like them? Maybe not. So yeah, no, I like that you shared what was going on in between all the procedure. Because I think people need to see that as well, to know that it is fine to go through all of that, the ups and the downs. It's not, you shouldn't go, okay, they rejected me because of my EMS. That is a sign I'm out. Like, don't be afraid to appeal. Yeah, I think it's really funny that the chairperson and the vice chairperson were at some point told that they cannot be part of the yeah, I was also told that I am not eligible, but not because of EMS. Or if you don't really know what EMS is, especially for Tygerberg, because we don't, like, EMS doesn't really do anything for us. We don't calculate EMS. It's like, it's just your academic average, basically. In my head, I'm always like, it's somewhere in the 60s. Like, I don't know what it is. It's like the formula on the Stellenbosch campus for it, but for us at Tygerberg, it's not really a concept, but it's just your academic average that you must have. So even I was told that I wasn't eligible because I was from another campus, and I too appealed that decision. So don't be afraid to appeal the first response you get when you try to apply. If anything, it sparks your journey because you're like, okay, I fought to get in, I'm going to fight to stay in, you know? So don't be disheartened by what might happen when you're trying to apply. Just keep pushing, keep pushing, keep pushing. I see Sifiso has joined us. Can you hear me? I hope his network didn't kick him out or something.
I do hear you, DP. How are you?
Yes, welcome. I'm great. How are you?
Thank you very much. I'm sorry, guys. I was late. I was busy with just a few things. Yeah, but I'm here now. Hope you all fine.
We're happy to have you. We're definitely going to want to see your face at some point. I'm just saying, like, the people want.
Okay. It's fine. It's fine.
So just to catch you up on what you might have missed, we are obviously recording this and it'll be up on the YouTube page. But beyond that, I had just asked everyone to introduce themselves, and then we were talking about the application process. Christina given us some nice insight on the application process for SRC manager, and then Lewis spoke about just applying for SRC in general and applying for chairperson. And then you also touched on vice chairperson as well, so that's awesome. Sifiso, I don't know if you want to add in terms of how you got your portfolio, particularly the leadership one, because policy officer was more, we know what happened there, but formally the leadership portfolio, if you just want to give some insight on how SRC members now beyond chair and vice get their portfolio.
Sure. Now you want to see my face, Conch? Oh,
even if it's
I just want to. Okay, I think, is it fine?
Yes, this is what we want. It's perfect. It's perfect.
Okay, thank you. SRC. I think before the whole process of positions and stuff in the SRC, of course, I went to SRC hoping for a certain position, you know. Then I couldn't make it to the same position that I wanted. Then there were portfolios, and I saw myself very much related to student leadership in terms of development. So, and it was a portfolio that previous SRC never had, actually. So I was like, let me just try and be opportunistic and take just this opportunity to make this certain portfolio very much relevant within the student community. So yeah, that's how I came to that. Then I think I submitted to the executive of the SRC that I will need therefore to focus on this. But of course, I think Chairperson, he came to me in the office because there was also a student access, I think. Yes, he came to me and speak with me that Sifiso, how about this portfolio? Now, I love the portfolio itself, but I didn't want to be the person who's like leading it, because I'm like a very much emotional person, and that portfolio, sometimes some of the issues that come from student are very much personal, you know. So I was like, no, it's gonna be too much for me, because I wanted to make sure also that I push on my academics, you know. So I was like, no, I can't survive on this. I can't. Then yeah, I think with the work relationship within the SRC, then it was then understood, and I got the student leadership portfolio.
Beautiful, thank you. And thank you for like being honest and being very vulnerable about the processing of how the portfolios happened. And it is a reality that you might come into SRC with a particular portfolio in mind, in the same way that Lewis was saying, he didn't necessarily come in with a particular portfolio in mind. You know, both are fine. You can come in very sure about where you want to land up and very unsure about where you want to land up. But what I really like that you highlighted is that this is a portfolio that wasn't necessarily there before. And it speaks to the fact that at the end of the day, you know what your vision was and you know where you want to make an impact. So if it means that, you know, there was a particular portfolio you come in with, thinking that that's where you want to be and that's where you'll make the impact and fulfill your vision. If it means that when you don't get that, you need to reconstruct a new portfolio, there is absolutely nothing wrong with that, because at the end of the day, we all run for SRC because we want to make an impact somehow, somewhere.
Definitely.
So I really also respect you for knowing your own personal limits in terms of student access as well, because you really don't want to be in a position where you're just taking a portfolio for the sake of taking it. Know your limits. Don't put yourself in that box of, oh, maybe if someone else had run and made SRC, they would be taking any portfolio. No, you know what you're good at and you know where the student body needs you best and where you yourself as a whole being, not just as a student leader, need yourself to be. So I really respect your decision, factoring in what you want to fulfill in leadership, but also what you want to fulfill in your degree. That's a leader right there, you know, get that balance early. Don't let the portfolio shock you later. We love to see it. All right. So with SRC and SRC managers, at some point you are either going to have to be part of a caucus, maybe once, twice, 3, 4, 5 times. And at some point, you know, with managers, you have to sit in on an interview with a panel. So both of those environments require you at the end of the day to be facing strangers most of the time that you don't know and presenting your vision, presenting why you are an asset to the team, why they should vote for you, and present and like motivating that to people who don't really know you. So that can be very stressful, especially knowing that those people will then respond with questions. It can be very stressful. And I think a lot of the time we lose leaders who are very capable and very good because they get very much in their head about how they're going to get through caucus and how they're going to get through an interview. So obviously you all had to survive a caucus or two or an interview or two to be where you're at. So you must have done something right. So I'd just like to hear from you if you have any tips, any advice for someone who's really afraid of caucus or really worried about caucus, something you did to take away the pressure maybe of the interview. Christina, doesn't even need to be caucus, you know, something you did to prepare, something you wish you had done to prepare. Or something you definitely wish you had come in knowing, or that you did come in knowing that you were grateful that you came in with that knowledge. Yeah, Christina, let's start with you from the manager's perspective.
So I'd just like to say that I didn't find the situation very stressful, the application process, because of the SRC. They were so calming. But I do remember before the interview, you know, your heart beats a little bit faster, and you're like, what are they going to ask me? And anyway, but you just go to the SRC offices and you sit and wait your turn. And then I had a panel of 3 individuals, Secretary General, the Vice Chair, and then another SRC member. And the interview is mainly to get to know you. They ask questions, what your vision is, why do you think you are suited to this position? And at the end of the day, it's mainly to find out, are you really passionate about making a difference, and can you handle the job? Also talking about positions and difficulties. I remember that I'm studying a Bachelor of Science, and that was a little bit of a worry as if I could handle the time management with my degree. But at the end of the day, if you really want to make a difference, it doesn't matter. You just have to, you know, it's mainly to get to know who you are. And yeah, it was a very calming process once I was in the room. I think it lasted about 20 minutes, the interview, and then you await an email a few days later to say whether you've received a manager position. And yeah, very, very simple, easy process.
Nice, thank you. Yeah, I remember you came and you were very calm. So it makes sense that you were in that calm space. But of course, yeah, it's very natural that just before it happens, you know, it's like just before you start writing a test, your heart is like, yes, I know I've studied, but what if? So that panic is normal. That panic doesn't mean that you're doing something that you shouldn't be doing. Use it, you know, make use of that extra adrenaline. But yeah, I really like that you're pointing out that the questions, especially in the interview setting, were more to find out what your vision was and whether you'd be able to handle what you have on your plate and fulfilling that vision. It's not that you get asked questions that are going to catch you out or like throw you off in the interview. It's more knowing what you want to do with the role, and after hearing that, making sure that you know that you have all the tools, or you know where to look for the tools to fulfill that vision. Nice, thank you. Lewis, let's come to you.
Okay, we're back. I'm back. Okay, thank you for that question. So this year things might be different because if caucusing had to happen, it will be online. But caucusing was a daunting period for us. I think a lot of people struggle with the caucusing period. And you have like anxiety and all these feelings, and I always tell people that it's normal for you to feel like that, because you are going out there to people who don't really know you, and if they know you, they've just seen you, they don't really know what exactly you want to bring on the table. They don't know how exactly you are going to do it. So it all comes back to you being real with the people that you are engaging with. It might be an online caucus, it might be you get tough questions, and I think that the best way that you can work around them is, if you don't know the answer, just be that guy who's going to say, okay, I didn't know about this, but I'm willing to learn. Because you applying for a leadership position, you applying for being in the SRC, doesn't mean that you know everything. Doesn't mean that you are the best leader that could happen to Stellenbosch University. It doesn't mean that you are number one. You are better than everyone, but you are applying because you are willing to serve. And a part of serving is also learning from other people, even the people that you will be working within the SRC, even people that you will be serving, the students. I always used to say that it's called the Student Representative Council for a reason. And one of the reasons is clear, is the word representative. We are there to represent the views of the students that we are serving, not our own views. So it shouldn't be about who has the best convictions or like who feels like they can never be moved, but it should be about who's willing to listen and take those little voices and represent marginalized people. It's all about taking up those little things that lie within us, and then you elevate their needs to the next stage. When you're speaking to management and you know that students are feeling like this, it's about somebody who's willing to go out there and say, hey, look, we have hungry students. And the only solution that we can bring on the table is giving those students food. And how do we work towards that in a constructive way? So I feel like it all comes back to you shouldn't judge yourself based off your caucusing. You might go to a caucus, you might have difficult questions, but it's all about you getting back to yourself. Think clearly, why am I even doing this in the first place? Because some people along the way, they will feel like they're being abused. And there's always a thing of, you always find those people in the world, and it's actually a good thing. There are people who feel like they're guardians of the SRC. They are good, they are bad. They can intimidate good candidates to check it out with the rest. But at the same time, they are there to hold the leaders accountable. You know that there's somebody who's watching. So don't let yourself lose or like give up the whole thing because you've had one bad caucus. Go back, restructure, find answers to those particular questions that you failed in the previous caucus. Come back stronger than ever. If you're feeling anxious, if you are scared that people are not going to accept you, then it's normal. That's how it should be, because you are willing to take up a position that you're supposed to represent 33,000 students. Majority of them don't know you, don't care about you, but they want you. But if something goes wrong, they'll point fingers at you. So you should be prepared to feel like that. So if you're feeling anxious, it's normal, but don't let that anxiety stop you from running. I think that's all that I can say. It's a normal feeling. Take it with you. Don't let it stop you from running.
Yeah, so good. So good. Yeah. I see you're like venting about past caucus trauma, just letting it all out. We love it. There's all types of audiences that come to a caucus, and you are never going to know everything. You are never going to see every question coming. And if anything, I've seen in quite a few caucuses where someone tries to know all the answers, like they try to not reveal the fact that they don't have an answer for something. And the students ask a follow-up question on the answer you just gave. So instead of being asked the same question 5 times to only at the end say, you know what, you've actually raised something I don't know, I'm going to read up on this and come back better. Rather just immediately, shut the point down and say, you really opened my eyes to something. And in the next caucus, I would really like to present a better answer to you. And I'm sorry that I can't present it right now. And honestly, 1 bad caucus, 2 bad caucuses, all the caucuses being bad, it's okay. It really is okay. You don't see anyone posting any videos of our caucus. No tweeting about our caucus. Nobody, like, things happened, things were said, they were funny, they were this, they were good, they were bad. But no one holds on to it beyond caucus. I kid you not. People have lives. They really, really do. And the last thing they're going to do is remember that Wama said XYZ at that one caucus years ago, so it's really not that big of a deal when you do have a bad caucus. Just learn from it and note where the gap is and then come back stronger. Thank you, Lewis.
And
so
caucus is good. Caucuses don't vote.
Yeah. No, listen, don't get me started. You know, it's the number of people that vote versus the number of people that caucus.
Yeah.
That needs to be an interview all on its own. That really put your anxiety into perspective if you can. If there's about 20 people at your caucus, already about 60% of those people are maybe not there for you. They are there to support a friend. So they're not there to have their minds changed by what you say. And then maybe the other 40% of that, maybe 20% is just there to chill. Then maybe 20% is actually there to listen and maybe vote. So really don't give caucus that much power over your leadership term and your leadership journey, because I kid you not, it is so far in the rear view mirror and has so little to do with what your leadership journey actually becomes after that. Yeah. Sifiso, is there anything you want to add here?
With caucuses, ne? For me, caucuses, they were never paid, as maybe Louis would have shared. Simply because, firstly, for me, I think I have attended from 2015. I've been attending SRC caucuses. I will be there. Sometimes I will disrupt some of them. Some others.
You are that 60%. Yeah.
So sometimes I will just come to a caucus with knowing what is it that I want to do today and stuff, Yeah. But now it was a different thing, because now I was the one that needs to sit there and be questioned, And of course, being a student activist around Stellenbosch campus, at some point I will know who will come there, and they have a level of expectations whenever they give me a question. They expect me to respond to that question in a certain way, But I will always try to be the Sifiso that I am, and try to share what I know. I remember in our first caucus, I think it was our first caucus, there was a question that came to us in relation to mental health issues around the student community. And I didn't want to lie there, because I knew that myself, I'm still struggling with the same thing, and I do not have the better solution for it. I really don't have a way how can I do it to make sure that at least we are able to deal with it, And I was like honest with the students that, guys, I wouldn't lie. Myself, I'm a person who's struggling with the same issue. I don't even have that solution for. I was just honest with them, and I think they will come that honesty that came with, So for me, caucuses, they were never bad, but one of the things I will do was to prepare myself every time when I'm going to the caucus, I think it also helped me to read some of the documents around the university, because I would be like, let me just check something around transformation thing. What is the transformation been saying about transformation in Stellenbosch University? I will go and check, I will check all these specific offices. What is it that they have? Let me just read, okay, they do 1, 2, 3, then let me go to this caucus. So some of the caucuses, I will enjoy them, but I didn't enjoy the Saldanha one, because I didn't know anything in Saldanha, anything, and they knew, those students there, they knew that actually us who are not even familiar with them, we don't even know about them, they knew that thing, and I didn't also want to be in a space there and lie to them. And also I told them even there that, guys, I'm honest with you, I don't know anything about Tagapek. The only time I came here, we're just called here for drinks and stuff. We're not necessarily here to understand what is happening. Don't know this. And I think I did get some few votes there. I think was because I was honest with them to say, guys, I don't know anything with you, So yeah, they are not difficult caucuses. I think it's not something to stress with. The only thing in the SRC I think you need to have a strategy of it is how then do you mobilize votes, you know? Because I think, yeah, the number of votes, it depends on the candidate, you know? So as a candidate, you need to have a strategy. Therefore, how then are you going to mobilize your votes? How strategic are you going to approach it, you know? So I think that's the most difficult and the most important thing is to know how then are you going to get votes. Because you can come there and say good things, students can laugh, but it doesn't mean that most of them, they will vote for you. So you need to know how then do you get to a level where you are understanding how are you going to mobilize your votes. Yeah, sure.
Wow, we love it. I'm honestly taking so many notes. I've already filled up 2 pages because the 3 of you are just spitting the wisdom. We love it. We love it. Yeah, I really love what you're saying, Sifiso, because people relate to honesty. They really, really do. And there's nothing wrong with telling people that you don't have a plan for that thing. Because if you don't have a plan, you don't have a plan. Like the student who's asking that question themselves does not have a plan. And if neither one of us are going to step up for SRC because neither one of us has a plan, you know, the SRC is going to fade out. What you are saying by standing for SRC is that you're willing to serve, you're willing to learn, you're willing to try. You don't have a plan for XYZ. You don't know Saldanha Bay, you don't know Tygerberg, but you're willing to put yourself in a position where if a student brings up a concern, you will pursue how to solve it. You're not saying you know everything about solving, but you have your vision, you know, remind people about what your vision is, what it is that you do know, and what it is that you're willing to learn. You really don't need to know everything. Yeah. And I love what you mentioned there with mobilizing votes. It's very true. It's very real. You cannot just rely on the caucuses. I kid you not. They're going to be digital now, I'm sure. And I don't even know if that means there's going to be more people or fewer people. I can't even predict what that means. But the number of people at caucus and the number of people that vote, the 2 numbers are never linked in any way, like thousands of students vote, less than 100 of students come to caucus. So you really have to have a strategy. I'm not saying take people's phones and their devices and vote for yourself on the devices, no, but really have a strategy of how you are going to get your mission and your vision across to the people who are not going to tune into Microsoft Teams or Zoom or whatever to see you at caucus. How are you going to campaign for yourself on the side? Without, of course, the election conveners will talk you through all the rules of the campaign without swaying from the campaign structure and rules. How are you going to do that whilst, to secure the most number of votes that you can for yourself without, of course, bullying people into voting? So I know that something that also influences just the thought of applying for leadership beyond now caucus and interviews is what it does to your schedule. You know, we're all at Stellenbosch University because at the end of the day, we want to graduate at some point. You know, it's not we're not competing against one another. Whenever you graduate is whenever you graduate. So the last thing you want to do is to add something to your plate that is going to stop you from graduating, or stop you from doing other things that you enjoy in your life that make you feel very fulfilled. So I think a lot of people battle with what does being an SRC manager and what does being an SRC member, what does that do to your schedule? Practically, what does it look like? What does your day look like? What does your week look like because you are an SRC member? Here I'm talking meetings, I'm talking emails you're responding to, whatever. You know, how much time in a day have you found yourself dedicating to SRC in any way? And also, have you found that being in the role has affected your academics specifically? And I'm not asking you to share now if you failed, or if you went from the 90s to the 60s or the 40s, just did you have to change your academic strategy? You know, did you have to study harder? Did you see that there was a change? It was affecting your marks negatively, positively, or did it not affect your academic schedule at all? Yeah, so just give us shed some light on schedule and academic impact of being on SRC. Yeah, Lewis, let's start with you.
Okay, look who's back. Okay, I mean, this is a very good question, and it's quite tricky in such a way that I ended up figuring out how to work around my time doing the SRC stuff and doing academics at the very end of my term. So it's if I say that being in the SRC doesn't take time from your academics, I'll be lying to people, because you have to know it when you get into the SRC that it's a very demanding role. But now, if you look at your normal day, we all have 24 hours a day. But it comes back to, what are your priorities? What do you really want to do with the rest of the day? And unless you are claiming that you are somebody who will be studying for 24 hours or like for all your time during the day, then it would be a totally different case. But it's all about time management. There are some silly things, not silly per se, there are some things, unnecessary things that you do with our time during the day. And if you are somebody who is really willing to serve, I'm pretty sure that you always find or like dedicate that time to doing some SRC stuff. But I won't lie that if you start dragging your marks, because I remember at some point in time, I had some classes that I could have attended, but I didn't attend because I was fulfilling my SRC role. You find yourself at times without a choice. You're like, okay, I can't miss this class, and at the same time, I can't miss this meeting. But it's it all comes back to time management. It all comes back to having a good team. I remember at times when I had some serious things, I would ask Wama to take over, or like it comes back to you having a good team at the end of the day, forming a good working relationship with the other SRC members. And the other thing that a lot of people don't realize is you don't have to do everything on your own, even if it's part of your job description. You are the chairperson. You are supposed to chair meetings. You don't have to chair all the meetings. Whenever you're feeling like you have a lot of work on your table, that's why you have a team. That's why there's a deputy chair. That's why you have all other people who can be in your shoes at that particular time when you're not feeling like yourself. And at times you just don't want to do it because you're not feeling okay. And it's okay. It's all right for you to feel like that. But I'll say that I had a different experience in terms of like my marks and the being in the SRC. Maybe because when I ran, like the last semester, I only had 2 modules, but the previous one, like before that, the first time we got into office, I had a lot of modules. So when I had a lot of modules, my marks really went down. Like they really went down. And I was now in a position where I could just say, okay, I just need a 5th. I just need to pass. But this past semester, maybe it's because I had fewer modules or I had learned or adapted to the position. I performed better than any time in my university career. But at the same time, I had all the SRC duties. And at some point in time, I thought I wasn't going to make it last semester. And, I think if you dedicate yourself, and if you tell yourself why you do certain things, you always have the answer. And if you always look into the right direction, you always find something positive. For like COVID-19, like if I sit down right now, I always tell myself that if it wasn't for COVID-19, I wasn't going to pass last semester. But we never know what was going to happen if COVID-19 didn't come. Maybe I would have passed, maybe I wouldn't have passed, but it's all about trusting the process as well. And I'm not the best guy when it comes to time management, and that's one of my weakness. But like if I have to encourage someone who wants to run for SRC or like any leadership role today, if I have to advise them, it's all about planning your time out. Like if you are really dedicated to serve students, if you are really dedicated to solve the issues that you see around you, you always get the time to do your SRC stuff, and you always get some time to do your academics, even though at times some of the issues that you are dealing with might take a toll on your mental health in such a way that after you've assisted so many students, or like you're unable to assist this particular student, and then you're stressed about it at the time that you should be studying. It's something that happens, but it doesn't happen all the time. Academics shouldn't be something that stops you from going for a position like this. And we will always have things in life that keep us busy. Today it might be academics, tomorrow it might be work, but if you want to lead, if you want to serve, it should never be an excuse, not any day. Yeah.
So good, so good. Yeah, that was really, really nice, really thorough, really honest, again, very vulnerable. Thank you. Yeah, you mentioned it's all about your priorities, and there is nothing really in the team that you ever have to do on your own. Teamwork and delegation shouldn't come because you don't want to do something. It's coming because you don't want to burn out from holding onto something that doesn't need to be done by you alone. And it also makes, it inspires trust. It shows the team that we trust one another, that, okay, I can give this to someone else to do, or to run, or to help me with. Yeah, beautiful. Thank you. Thank you. Let's go to Sifiso.
Yes. For me, I think this lockdown helped me a lot, actually, to be able, therefore, to put more focus on my academics. SRC at some point can be demanding, and another thing was that the idea of becoming an SRC member. So most students, they have this entitlement, because you are in the SRC, then at any time when they call you, or when you need to respond to them, if you are working at Royplane now, if they are saying, I have a problem of this, they expect you to change your plans just to go with them. So that's one of the things I was struggling with, because it was still early and a period of registration, February. We were just starting with the academic year. So it was more of neglecting my academics and trying to do some work of the SRC. And until my supervisor was able to see that I'm not even submitting any reviews that I'm supposed to be submitting, then he made a call, then we spoke. Then he was advising me actually to resign from the SRC if I'm really serious that I want to graduate this year, December, because he was saying I'm behind with time. Some of the things I needed to start from when we opened the academic year, we needed to start, and I was not fully doing the work at that time, So with this lockdown, then at least now I was able to have my whole time in my space alone, work, and cover everything. So it was, I think, even the SRC that is coming now, under this lockdown, I think they're gonna work easily.
Yeah.
Just to, even though one of the things that I miss now is that interaction with student also, you know.
Yeah.
But even though sometimes I don't want it, you know, but I miss it now, you know.
Yeah.
So I think, yeah, this thing of online for me, I'm happy because academically, you know,
Yeah.
I'm flying there, you know. So yeah, I can't complain a lot in terms of academics, but I know, of course, that SRC is also demanding and sometimes it's draining, you know. The work within the SRC sometimes can just spoil your day, you know, and now you need to always try and recover from that so that you can be able to go and put focus on your academics, you know. But overall, if you know what you want, you know, I think also that will help you to know that when you come to the SRC, what is it that is expected from you, and with your academics also. And if you have maybe someone who's always there to remind you, at least, you know. I mean, I was so fortunate with my supervisor. He was someone who's always calling, hey chief, did you read this book, did you do this chapter? And you know, so if you, because I know SRC, you submit someone who's gonna be assisting you around academics. Is it a supervisor, or what do they call it?
It's the academic mentor.
Yeah, academic mentor. Yes. So I think you must not find someone who's going to sign the form for the sake of you just go and do the SRC work. You must find someone that does have an interest in seeing you succeeding within your leadership journey, but at the same time knowing that he needs to be able, or she needs to be able to also remind you about your academic importance, you know. So yeah, I think that's the only thing I can share. The academic mentor, I think you need to have someone who's very much close to your academics, who will want to see you succeed. Not someone who will just sign it for you and just doesn't even know what are you doing even in the SRC. He doesn't even know the portfolio that you are occupying, you know. So I don't think you will need to have such a person. So you will need to be sure with the person that you assign as your academic mentor. Yeah, sure.
That's it's such a vital point that you're bringing up about academic mentor. And if you do find yourself in a situation where you have just asked someone to sign for the sake of signing, take on that ownership then of actually finding an academic mentor who cares still. You really need someone, a really strong support system that is going to remind you that you are not just an SRC member. There's a degree to be had. There is a life to be had. You must go and socialize with your friends without that guilt. And you know, Sifiso, I love when you said SRC can spoil your day. There are many a days I've lost.
I know.
And it just, I think it's more that it's not like, you know, something happens in SRC the whole day from midnight to midnight. No, it's just something happens and it feels like it's so big because you are SRC, and you just want to fix and something comes up and you're like, oh no. And then you spend the whole day thinking about how to fix something. Rather, you know, put an hour aside or 2 hours aside if there's a crisis or something. Sit down and really think, can you solve it? Do you need to talk to someone tomorrow? Then finalize that in the time you set aside. Because me, I've definitely had many sleepless nights, unproductively sleepless nights, whereas I should have rather just put an hour or two aside to really think about what it is that is keeping me awake and then sleep. No, SRC can spoil day. I love that. I love it. It's a quote. I'm writing it in the book. All right, Christina, let's hear from you. Last but not least.
I think if I can just add on what has been said, it's just that when joining the SRC or by being a manager or any type of leadership, is that you need to have good time management. I think it doesn't matter, you know, you can learn a lot of things, but I think if you have good time management and communication skills, that'll work very well. And for academics wise, if I can just add what Lewis said, that if it's something you really want to do and you really feel that you can help other people and make a difference, it shouldn't feel like, you know, something that's so big. But with anything, there are the good and the bad. But I think mainly time management, and, you know, I know being an SRC member is a lot more, you know, difficult and more responsibilities than a manager would have. But from a manager's perspective, you need to be able to have meetings with management unexpectedly, and yeah, just be able to adapt.
Yeah, so good. Thank you. Yeah, thank you for that, Christina. Yeah, it is very much, you know, it all again comes back to priorities and just a concept that is self-discipline, which, you know, you'll struggle with in different ways and different forms throughout your life. Sometimes the issue is that, you know, you care too much about people, and you'd rather prioritize the needs of others over your own needs. So just having that self-discipline of, you know what, I do want to serve, I do want to do this, but I do also as an individual want to thrive. It really does boil down to what you're prioritizing in a moment, and remembering that everything is an exchange of time. Pouring time into one thing is taking time out of the other. To be in this interview, you've lost time from doing something else. What was that thing? You know, are you aware that you're taking away time from something else to do the thing that you're doing? And it's not saying that it's wasted time because it's taken from something else, but it's just be intentional about what you are doing with your time. Yeah, and I've been saying this in other interviews, is that don't think that having an emptier plate means that your day or your time is being used better. You might have nothing to do, and it's not that you're going to study harder or anything. You just sleep the whole day or you eat the whole day. So an emptier plate does not mean that your life is being more fulfilled or that you're using your time more wisely. All right, so I think something that a lot of people step into our SRC wanting to achieve is obviously to make a difference, to make an impact, you know, to fulfill their vision, be it for student experience, faculty changes, institutional changes, management, you know, anything. You want to make a difference beyond just getting your degree. And I think a question a lot of people might have is, what type of difference does SRC allow you to make? You know, by that, it's where is the influence? Like, where is the scope of influence of the SRC? Do you find that it's more in policies, in management engagements, or is it on the, you know, the individual human level, being able to influence other students to step up for their own initiatives or leadership role later? So where have you all found that your influence through being an SRC manager or an SRC member lies in terms of being able to make an impact in our university's context? Sifiso, let me start with you here.
Okay. Okay. I think firstly for me, because most of the work that I'm doing in the SRC, I've been doing it outside the office of the SRC, right? So me now ascending to the SRC, when I was not in the SRC, some offices I couldn't get access to, you know. Yes, now, because you will find other offices, they will tell you that they have a structure of student leadership, of which is the SRC, will communicate with the SRC and stuff. So I will always be finding those struggles within. But knowing that now I'm in the SRC, and you will know, okay, if a student needs to register, I don't necessarily need to go to check any policy or anything, you know. There's a particular person who you need just to convince that actually it is true that there are students who don't have funding, you know. Can the university do 1, 2, 3 in any way, you know? And for me, in terms of those politics of student of registration and stuff, so it was easy when you are in the SRC. Every office you can easily enter it because they give you access to that, you know. So mostly, if it comes to registration period, I think it's very much best for one, firstly, to know the particular person who deals with these issues, you know. If now there's a lack of accommodation, then who is this person that you need to speak to? Because at that particular time, you don't necessarily need to go and change the police that, no, we don't have accommodation because student, we need to change. No, it's not about that part. Now you need to think, how then can we get more accommodation at this particular time, you know, which person you need to speak to. So I think for me, it's very important. Yes, you must know the police, because you will find that you will meet other SRC to other universities, people who will want to question you about something that they read online. You know, when they read the police online, they meet you, you know, they ask you. So you need at least to familiarize yourself with certain policies so that you can even yourself be proud that you are SRC, you know what is happening within the institution, you know. So for me, it's better to know a specific office when there's a problem. You know, if as Louis has at the beginning has said that now if there's a student who's hungry, then where should I go? I think that for me, that's what is important, is to know where you should go if this is the problem. You know, if is this the problem that we're facing, this is I need to touch this person. And with my SRC, one of the things that I appreciated, especially when it comes to the registration period, is that there are certain things that one can be good at. There are certain things that other people can't be good at. So you can't, as we have said, Deputy Chair, that you can't be good at everything. You know, that's true. You know, so if you have that kind of a team that is so much dedicated in saving students, then it becomes easy, like with us for the registration period, because it's one of the arguments that I'm pushing, that it is this SRC that actually, when it comes to registration period, we're very much successful. You know, of course, we do have our own shortcomings, right? But taking from the previous SRC, and when it comes to these issues of registration, I say our SRC was the best. You know, we never struggled that much. I think it was also because, you know, you have those people. I know with my SG, he's very much good when it comes to admin, you know. SG, you know, 1, 2, 3 needs to happen via admin and stuff. I know she will be there to just push that admin. It becomes much easier if you have that kind of a team, you know. So yeah, for me, the most influential thing is to know who to speak to, you know, and yeah, then you will be fine. Of course, we all claim that actual SRC in Stellenbosch is not political, but it's another argument that I'm putting, that's not true. Yes, on paper it's not, but in practice, I don't believe that, you know. So for me, yes, I will just say, just to know who to speak to, you know, you need to know all these strategic offices, you know, because sometimes you can send an email to management can tell you there's a department that is dealing with that thing, you know. So for me, is to know who you need to speak to whenever a student submit an issue. And if you have a good team, you shouldn't mind if you don't know how to assist that student. I think if you have a good team, you shouldn't mind to just say, Wama, I have this problem with this student. Can you please, if you can assist me, you know? So I'm fortunate that in our team is that kind of a team that, you know, if you don't know this, you know that I can just call my chairperson, chair, I have a problem with this particular student. How then can we assist, you know? Then you will know, okay, we need to approach this office and stuff. So if your team does know what needs to happen at any issue that will come, then yeah, we will be safe. Sure.
So good. Thank you. I love this. You've really said it all. I really love, because what you are basically saying is that it's not you. I mean, if you're really that type of person who loves going through policy and changing policy to influence change, that's fine also. But once you are part of the SRC, you might find that a lot of your role and influence is actually just in being a representative. I mean, it kind of sounds a little redundant, but it might mean that the only thing you have to do is go represent a student to a particular person in management or to a particular person sitting in an office, and say that they need accommodation at XYZ place, you know? It's not that you now need to go Google what policy is governing accommodation at Stellies. Okay, so now I must change this sentence so that this person can get accommodation. Sometimes the only thing you need to do is have a conversation with the right person, like Sifiso was saying, and you can really actually help a student. So being part of SRC makes your referral net much wider, and it increases how deep into the behind the scenes structures you can reach. And it really does help to know. And if you're sitting going, okay, I don't know everything, don't worry. You know, no one comes in knowing all of the referral systems. You know, some you can see on the website. There are camps, there are trainings that we have as the SRC where, you know, all these different structures are also explained and elaborated on. So don't sit going, oh my gosh, I don't know each and every single branch of something. You know, it will come up in different forms and different ways, especially in the beginning of your term with trainings and all of that. Thank you, Sifiso. Christina, I'm going to come to you.
I think the majority has already been discussed of what I would like to add. I think at the end of the day, it boils down to what's your vision and how much do you want to bring about change. And I think it can start with an individual. You just, like you've said, you need to reach out to a group of people who have the same vision as you, have good management, communication, and a lot can be done if you approach, you know, the proper structures. And if you don't know anything, you email someone and they will refer you to this person and so on, and you can achieve your goals. So yeah, I think, and you do get a budget for the year, so you do have the resources. You just have to use them wisely, and yeah, have the referrals and good communication.
Yeah, thank you. Beautiful, comprehensive, concise, to the T. Yeah, love it. Thank you very, very much. Lewis, is there anything you'd like to add here?
Oh, yes. I don't really have to add much because a lot of things have been discussed. But if I have to speak about that, like I always say that the SRC term is very short. I understand that there are some people who prefer policy change, which is good, and that's how we should be as a team. And we should have other people who are really focused on policy, and we should have other people who are just soldiers who just want to get in there, get in the office, and negotiate or whatever, do what you got to do for things to get done. And I think it all comes back as well to how the team is balanced. Like, speaking for myself, I've never been an administrative person. Like, I don't know how to be organized in that way where you have like everything is in order. But I was lucky to have a vice chair who's really good at that, organizing people, saying this is what you're going to do, this is what you're going to do. And you look at being a foot soldier. We're talking about people like Sifiso, like he's a soldier. You know that you can't beat him on the ground. You can do it on paper, you can write things, but you have some other people that you know that when it comes to getting on the battleground, this is what you need to do. They will tell you that no, you're wasting your time. Don't talk to this guy. Go to this particular office. Go and do this. Go and do that. So it all comes back to you taking up a position and then serving with grace, if you get what I mean. Like realizing that you didn't get to your position because you were the best person ever, or like you were the best person to be at that position, but you go to that position because you're willing to listen, you're willing to learn. I mean, I've learned a lot of like how the system works from Sifiso, like which offices should I go to? Where exactly should I touch? How should I approach? Who is the guy responsible for this? And I think that it has worked out pretty well. I ended up being a soldier with my brother as well. So it's something that, yeah. I mean, the other time we were speaking to Nugent, so he was calling me and Sifiso soldiers of our students. And it's something that happens behind the scenes, but that's something that I adapted to. That's something that I learned from him. So I always tell people that you're not going to get into a position and say, hey, look, I'm the treasurer, I'm the secretary, so I'm not going to ask for help. I'm not going to. I knew from the very first day that I walked into office that when it comes to the groundwork, no one could outwork me. So I knew that nobody could outwork you by being administrative. I knew that there are some things in terms of like reaction. Christina can react very fast to a specific case before I even think of reacting. Yet I'm aware of the case. So it comes back to you being able to be in touch with your team, going back to this person saying, hey, look, I don't know how to do this. I don't really know how to do it. Can you tell me how it's done? So it comes back to if you are a leader, it doesn't mean that you are the best. You might be the worst when it comes to everything, but you are mediocre in everything, which makes you good because you can engage with this person, learn something, leave them to do what they can do best. You can be an enabler. You can enable other people to work in a proper way. And I think the other thing that people should learn or like be willing to adjust to in the leadership position is how to be a good negotiator. How to so a role like SRC historically, or like if you look at it from all other institutions in South Africa, it's designed in such a way that it's us versus them. It's a fight between you and management, you and the guy who's giving out money to students, you and the guy who's giving out bursaries. It's a fight. That tension is always created due to a lot of things. It might not be, it's not because of the students, but the moment that you learn how to traverse your ground, and the moment that you are willing to have a good working relationship, but while it's challenging all critical issues, I think that's when somebody becomes effective in the SRC. It's about knowing that Mr. Source is responsible for bursaries and loans, and knowing that if you go and shout at that guy, you've burnt the bridge for 1,000 of students. It's knowing that your term is just 1 year, but this guy is going to be there for 5 years assisting students. And even before your term, this guy has been assisting students. So it comes back to you striking the balance between being tough on them and you being somebody who knows how to negotiate, somebody who knows how to strike a deal, somebody who knows how to express themselves without being burning the bridges for other students that might need assistance. So when I look at the SRC, or when I look at a 50% mark that I got in a module that I thought that I would get a distinction, I would be happy, like I'm 100% satisfied, because I know that the rest of the 50% has been shared and multiplied amongst the students that you enabled to access the system. It's the 50%, like you should be happy when you see those, you should be happy when you look back at the amount of people that you've assisted to gain access to the institution. So it's all about your priorities at the end of the day. If you are here to change policies, then do that. That's your own strategy. We have people like that, work on that. At the end of the day, you will still need policy change. But if you're getting the job as a soldier, then be a soldier. There is no one way to do it. It's all about what you can do best.
Yeah. Beautifully put. Thank you. Yeah. I think people will look at, you know, especially at caucus, you look at the rest of your team and you go, but I don't work that way. I don't lead that way. That's not how I function. So don't lose your leadership style, and don't lose who you don't lose where you are most effective and how you are most effective just because you see how someone else is most effective. It's like, you know, in a war, imagine if the whole army went out and just fought. No one was out strategizing where the weak points of the enemy are. No one was writing down, you know, where the enemy likes to hide. No one is doing any admin, checking in who's hurt, who's bleeding. No one's doing the nursing. If you're all just getting bloody in the fight, you know, everyone's going to burn out. Everyone's going to be dead. So especially if you know you're not a good fighter. This is just an analogy now. You know you're not a good fighter, but you know you're a good strategist. Why should that army lose their strategist who is trying to fight in a way, in a style that is not their fighting style? So you know your leadership style, you know the way you serve, you know the way you fight, and you know the way you impact what you need to impact. Stay true to that, and, you know, encourage people who do it differently to you to keep doing it differently to you, because that's what makes the whole team effective at the end of the day. You don't want to step out of your term and go, yeah, I did the most. You want to say, our team did the most. Okay, so I don't want us to go too long. So I'm going to do this how I've been doing it for the past few interviews now, and that is I'm going to ask 2 questions in one, in a way. And this will be my last bit. This is my last question for the day. And that is, you know, SRC has its highs and lows. You know how our term has been. You know what you have been through. If you could go back to the you, if this you could go back to the you that was running and about to, you know, go through all those caucuses or sit in that interview, would you tell you to apply for SRC still? Would you still say apply to be an SRC manager? Knowing everything that you would go through, knowing you know what it will do to your academics, knowing what it will do to your sleep pattern, your whatever. Yeah, would you still do it? That's the first part of the question. And then the second part of the question is, what is your final word to the students who might be listening to this, who are maybe almost there in considering running for SRC, you know, or still second guessing, or just need that final push, or, you know, who are already committed but just need a bit more advice, you know? So what is your final word to the students? That can be something you wish someone had told you before you ran. It can be, you know, just go for it. It can be something you said before that you want to echo again and highlight. Yeah, just if they forget everything you've said today, except for your final word, what do you want that to be for the students? Yeah, let's start with Christina.
So I would definitely do this again, have the opportunity to be the safety manager, because I want to make a difference and I truly want to help people. As cliche as that sounds, I really love helping others. And if I could tell future leaders, it's that if you know that you can make a change, do it. And if you're already thinking about it, you can definitely do it. There's no going back.
Beautiful. Thank you. Yeah. If you've gone through all the trouble of listening to this interview, you know, start to finish, even if you skip some parts, that's fine. That means you're already across the line. You might as well follow through with it and then let the students decide. You know, you've got nothing to lose. Sifiso, let's come to you.
Okay. Yes, I will do it again. And the application forms only open today. So as I'm saying that I might do it again, maybe I will send my application. I think.
Yes.
So yeah, it's something that I believe that I can still do it at any day more special that I will be still here next year in Stellenbosch University. Then and there are certain issues that I can't run away from in terms of especially of registration, simply because of I'm running also another project of recruiting students to come to the university. So every time I will always be here on campus when it comes to January, just to fix some of the things that I couldn't finish now while I'm still processing the applications, So yes, I can still do it. But what I can advise someone who's running, especially for 2020 and 2021 SRC, is to think about financial exclusion next year. I think just have your time alone and think what strategies will you bring forth to make sure that you fight the financial problem next year. I think that's one of the things that even the caucuses I will be more interested to hear how then are you planning to fight maybe financial exclusion, because at least we know that there is no academic exclusion next year. So there's this one of finance now. Then how then are we going to be able to win that struggle in the perspective of the SRC, and how do you see your SRC actually participating in that program of January, and just think about, because now I think leading will be very much different. It's not the one that we are coming from, where we interact mostly with students in a physical form. Now you will be mostly online. Most of the thing you'll need to be a person of admin mostly. You need to recheck your emails now and then. Your WhatsApp will be a lot of text that will be coming there. Your Facebook inbox, your Instagram, every social media that students have access to, they will just use it to make sure that they communicate with you. So I think then you need to be a kind of a person that now becomes very much active, especially on social media. With your SRC campaign, especially, you need to be more of a social media person, because that's the only way to keep it moving. Those are a few things that I can share. But please, anyone who's running, please do try and think around the idea of financial exclusion. How then can you make sure that many students next year they are able to register? Yes, thank you.
Wow, thank you. Very practical. We love to see it. Yeah, financial exclusion. I'm sure, Sifiso, if you do run again, I'll be at that caucus, probably be the first person to ask you that question, because I'm sure you haven't.
Definitely.
I'll be there for you. That'll be our one rehearsed question, just to give you some marks at the beginning. And I really like that you mentioned the reality of social media and the way that your leadership style must change onto the digital platform now. I know myself, I had to get off of my social media, my WhatsApp, my Facebook, my Insta. Don't really have Twitter, just because it was really becoming too much. There's no way to tell people to only contact you on one thing about certain things. You can't ask that family be the only people that Instagram you, students only, Facebook you, friends only WhatsApp you. You can't, it all gets mixed in there. So definitely brush up on your social media admin skills. You're going to need them because all of your work now is going to be on your device. And also know how to take a break from your device, because just to bring in some medical and health things, looking at your screen for too long, for hours on end with no break, is really not good for your eyes, and it's just not good for your health. It's not good for your posture either. So sorry to get medical, but I had to. So know how you're going to navigate having your fun and your business in one device or on two devices. Lewis, hit us with some wisdom here.
Okay, I'm back. And
just tilt the camera to your left.
Mm-hmm.
Tilt the camera to your left a little. I'm only seeing your shoulder. Maybe it's just me, but I mean for the recording.
Oh, okay, you want me to do it like this?
Yeah, a bit more. I'm seeing your ear.
Can you see? Is
It got worse.
perfect now?
Pull it more that way that you were going.
Okay.
Maybe it is just me.
Yeah, it's just you.
Really? Okay, never mind.
You.
Don't mind me. Okay, then. I'm just here to ask him questions. All right. Then. The people can see you then. It's fine.
Mhm.
All right. Yeah, I just did that to throw you off. Ha ha ha. Jokes. Sure. So hit us with it. Would you run again and your final word?
Okay. In terms of running again, right now, like I'm already typing the application form so that I can run again.
Hey, you and Sifiso, what did you two discuss? What are you two up to here, huh?
And I'm just making sure we get things right one more time.
I bet.
Okay, but I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. I'm not running. I'm not running again. I think once is enough. But if I had to do it, I would do it all over and over again. I mean, for me, it has been a very good experience. And regardless of the challenges that we faced from the very first time, like being told that you're not going to run and running after that, and all the struggles that we went through to just have positions and everything, like it was a rocky road. But to me, I don't like things when they're just straight and plain. There's beauty in the struggle. Like there's beauty in the struggle. So I really enjoyed my term of office, and most of all, it's the lives that you do touch. And that's what a lot of people don't realize. As I was saying earlier, I look at my marks, I look at everything, I look at maybe like my relationships that have gone down because I've been extremely busy doing this. I look at them, but none of them can ever equate to the amount of lives that we were able to touch. They can't equate to the things that we changed. They can't equate to the passion that we had while we were doing those specific things. As I told you, I've never been a good administrator. Like I'm not really into formality and all that. But in terms of the things that I ran on, in terms of like what I really wanted to achieve, I think I tried my best to achieve it. And it wasn't just me, but I was also lucky. I was also lucky because of the team that I had. A lot of people shared the same vision, and we had other people who were not sharing the same vision, and not in a bad way, in a good way, but they were there to make us strike a balance as a team. So in as much as we were different individuals, we were able to strike a balance between, for example, policy and groundwork, changing things. Some people are good at being in meetings. Some people are good at representing students. So for me, it has been a beautiful journey, and it's a bittersweet moment that it's coming to an end. It's bitter in a way that, so I'm not going to be in a position that I can assist students this way, but at the same time, it's sweet that you can now see somebody being in that position, be in a position to see with a bird's eye view and see how things are going wrong and be able to advise people. And I'm pretty sure there are a lot of people with great ideas, with brilliant ideas, more than the ideas that we would have even carried as a team. So
Yeah.
for me, I'm glad that we can finally pass on the baton stick to the next group. But it's bitter, like you're not going to have the same busy life. Like right now, I don't want to lie to you. I don't know what I'm going to do with my life after SRC. Like,
I am good.
complain and complain that no, it's a lot of work. I can't even do this.
Yeah.
It's hectic. It's this and that. But at the same time, it all comes back to it. It's what gives you satisfaction. So, in as much as I used to complain about the amount of work that I had on my table, I'm trying to picture my life without that work that I used to do. And I'm pretty sure that it's a beginning of another journey. And I have anxiety, and I'm pretty sure it's the same anxiety that I had before I ran for office. So if I had to do it, I would do it all over and over again. But I'm pretty sure that there are some people out there better than me who want to do it in a completely different way. So like I'm keen, like I'm really excited to start seeing things from the sidelines and assisting other students. And I'm really, I'll always say this: we had a very unique team, but I think it was the best team that we could ever ask for. Everybody was good in their own way, and our differences made us balance each other out to be a team that represents the diversity that our campus has, the diversity that we find ourselves immersed in South Africa. So it was all good at the end of the day. And I can't, I think you said it's 48 days for 48 days to go. So I can't wait to get to day number 48, but I'm going to really use these 48 days to really touch a few more lives that I can touch within my term of office. So it's an emotional thing for me. Like it's really emotional that after all the ups and downs, we can now see the end of this whole journey. But it's not the end. But it depends on how you want to look at it. It's the beginning of a new journey, and I'm excited. Yeah, I think. Yeah, that's all from me.
Yeah, it's so true. And I think a lot of us, if not all of us on the team, feel that way. It's that bittersweet, okay, hand it over so that, you know, it's on someone else now. Someone else is going to have their sleepless nights, thinking and strategizing ways to juggle meetings and academics and whatnot. But there's also that thing of knowing everything that you got to do, the lives that you got to touch. My personal style of leadership is very much about humans and individuals, you know. I really, really love that any leadership position that you enter gives you that opportunity to really invest in human beings. I always believe that the people coming after me in any leadership position I'm in are always going to be better than me. And my only role is to represent who I am and what I stand for, so that someone out there who's better than me can actually believe in themselves to, you know, take on the baton once we're gone. And I know there are a few Tygerberg students who have asked me about the experience of SRC as a Tygerberg student. My advice on that is I don't believe in comparing degrees. I don't let anybody tell you that because you're studying medicine, you know, you're going to have a harder time than someone who is studying something else. The difficulty of your degree is suited to your study style and the person that you are and what you're passionate about, and the field you're passionate about working in the future. So don't think of, I'm studying this and everyone else is studying that. That honestly has nothing to do with how you lead, what happens with your time. I mean, if anything, COVID has shown us that those 35 kilometers between Tygerberg and Stellenbosch were the least of our worries.
Yeah, I mean, you're absolutely right. They were the least of our worries.
They are honestly the least of our worries. And if anything, they've shown that we can meet digitally. And even when we do have a crisis, we can still be very effective in a crisis, even though we are separated by thousands of kilometers. So stop stacking up all of these reasons to not do it. The university needs you. You are a creative and inspirational human being who is listening to this, who has thought about wanting to make a change and an impact. You're not just going to give and give and give. You get a lot out of this role, from growth and all sorts of things. So do it for yourself, but also do it for the students. Yeah, thank you to Christina and Lewis and Sifiso for coming through on a Monday evening to discuss, SRC things. I've been saying to everyone, but it's very true that it speaks to your style of leadership and the heart behind your leadership, that you are not just invested in the fact that you were SRC, you are invested in the future of SRC and the potential of SRC. So being able to spend almost 2 hours investing in the future, the vision of, who's going to be picking up these roles after us, wanting that to be handled with care and with wisdom and advice and counsel and mentorship, speaks a lot to why you were in these roles. You weren't in it for the blazer, you weren't in it for the title, you were in it because you respect the responsibility of the role, so much so that you're not just going to dump it on the next person. You want to see it passed on carefully to the next generation. So thank you. You're all so wise. I have pages for days of notes
Thank you.
up on YouTube, and the people will love it. Yeah, that's all for me. Thank you so much, everyone. And thank you to our viewers.
Thank you for being a good host and a great vice-chairperson. And Sifiso, thank you for the great work. Christina, it's really appreciated. I can't imagine a life without you guys. And
Thank you very much, guys. Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you.
Thank
Have a
you
great
so.
night.
Thank you for everything, guys.
Thank you, Miss Lamprecht, if I'm saying that correctly. I don't know if I'm going to have access to the recording. Like, will I be able to download it?
I'm not sure. I'm trying to stop it, but yeah, I don't know. Maybe if we leave.
Okay, let me see. Because I also don't. Let me see if I have the stop recording.